Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is going to be the next part of our food app series. So in the previous video we implemented the Stripe flows, and now we'll basically work on the orders flows. So in this video what we'll do is that we'll create a list of orders where basically user can see the upcoming orders or the previous orders, and along with that we'll also create a detail screen for the orders. And once that is done, we'll have only notification left. So let's just get started. So over here, this is basically the design that we want to develop in this specific video. And you can see that we have like a top bar which have 3 sections, and then we have this section where we can create 2 tabs, and along with that we have this section. So let's just get started. And before getting started, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe, and let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do for order flow is that we need to fetch the response of what kind of response or what is the endpoint. So if you want to check, what you can do is that you can open your backend code, and inside that backend code, if you go to your order routes over here inside this route section, you'll see that you are at this route order, and this is basically the call that we need. It says that fetches all the orders that are logged. So this is basically what we need, and to how do we basically fetch that? What you need to do is that you need to go to your Postman, and inside this Postman, if you just like create this path over here, make sure that you use a correct JSON token, JWT token that you have. So once you have these 2 things, you can just click send, and as soon as you click send, over here you'll see this response that contains information about orders, some details about the user order and the user, and then we have address that basically where the order is supposed to be delivered. And then we have the status pending, which is basically the status of the order currently. If there is like a payment intent ID is also linked to it, although we don't need it, but it's still there. The total amount of the order, how many items were there. There is just 1 item inside it, so there is just 1 item. Then we have a restaurant details, so like details about restaurant, the ID, the owner ID, the pizza, like name of the address, order address of the restaurant. So these are the basically information that we have, and we'll basically work on these. So once you get this, what you need to do is that you can just copy all this, and once you copy that, we'll go to the Android code over here, and inside this model, let's just create a new Kotlin class. Sorry, not a Kotlin class, but in fact you'll just go create new Kotlin data class from the JSON, and you'll paste the same JSON that we copied from Postman over here. And now let's just name this as order list response. Okay, so once you do that and you click generate, it will create a couple of things. So just one thing that you need to verify is that we already have a address class, which is like same as this one. So I'm gonna delete this. Okay, and we also have a restaurant class as well, and this is basically again the same, just an extra X, because there was already one of the same name, so it just recreated that. And I think that's enough. This item is gonna be order item, so we just need to rename it so that it's easier for us to understand. Order item. Okay, now when you do that, you'll get over here, it will complain about address X. You just remove the X out of them, and now we have almost everything ready for this. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to definitely create a class. So we'll get over here, create a new package, and package should be orders. And inside that orders, let's create a Kotlin class and call it order list screen. Create a class, sorry, not a class, in fact this is going to be a composable. So let's create a composable for this. This is function like this. Okay, so now the order list screen is there. The next thing that we need to do is that you need to create a view model for this. So I'll just create another class and call it order list view model. Okay, and let's create a class for this. Now we know that this is basically this is a inject constructor, so that is important. And we also need to make sure that we basically create this as view model, extend it as from the view model, and over here we'll make sure that we set this as hilt view model, right? So now we have this thing ready. There are a couple of things that we'll need over here. For example, we'll need the food API for this, so food API should be there. We can make it private as well, so that's one thing. The second thing is that we need to create a couple of UI state for this, and along with the UI state we'll also need some navigation states, navigation events as well. So sealed class, this is basically navigate to order details. I think that's one of the thing that we need to do. And also we can go as object navigate back. So these are the two events that we'll need. And now the next thing would be field class states for that, and it should be orders, I think, if I'm not wrong. I think a list of orders should be there, so it should contain a list of orders over here, right? Now we have these things ready. Now let's just create the related event for that. So let's call it private wall underscore UI state mutable. That's going to be mutable state flow of this, and the initial state is going to be loading, and then we'll say as state flow. The next one is going to be shared flow, so we'll say private wall underscore event is equals to mutable shared flow of order list event, and that is going to be this, and then we'll call it as shared flow. So these are the things that are ready. We'll create a couple of more function. For example, function navigate to details, right? And it should also contain a order as a reference, and when there is something like that, we'll say new model scope dot launch, and then inside that we'll emit that. We also have to change this to data class because we want to pass the order to the next screen. Okay, and once you do that, we'll pass this order to this, right? This is for details, and we also need to create one more function that says view model dot go back, which means that it will navigate back. So I think that's pretty much what we need as a default. The next thing that we need to do is that we need to fetch all the orders. So we need to say function get orders, and this means that now over here we are gonna load all the orders. So we'll say view model scope dot launch, and the first thing is that we need to make sure the state is equals to state dot value is equals to loading, and then say we'll see wall result is equals to safe API call, and inside that we'll say food API dot get orders. And now you can see that we don't have this endpoint, so we'll make sure to create this specific function over here. And like I mentioned, that this is basically a get call. So again, get calls, then slash, then orders. Okay, and then over here we'll say suspend function get orders, and that is going to be order list response. So this will basically return the orders to us. And now you can see that this started, the complaint basically is gone. And now we'll say when result, this means that now we'll check if the is API response dot success. This means that now we got the success case. We'll do the same thing for the error, and the third one is going to be is API response dot exception. In that case, we'll also do a couple of things. For example, we'll update the state of the order. Okay, now this is done, and now you can see that it's complaining because definitely it needs some data. So over here I'll need to make sure that we pass orders rather than just the data as a whole. And now you can see that we are good. So this get order function, when do we call that? I think we should call that right away as soon as we basically get this. Okay, so these are the things that we have done, and now we'll go to our order list screen, and over here you can see that the order list screen doesn't have anything. So we need to do a couple of things. First thing is that we need to, let's say, create a column. Okay, and now inside that column we'll make some stuff. Let's say we'll call it UI state, that's equals to view model. We don't have a view model. First thing that we need to do is that we need a nav controller over here, so that is important. Second thing is that view model, order list view model is equals to hilt view model. Okay, so that it's been initialized. Now over here we'll say view model dot state dot collect state as lifecycle. That's one thing. And now we'll say when UI state dot value, which means now when there is basically anything that's there, we'll just verify, make sure to set it for all the states, all the 3 states that we have, and based on each state will show relevant stuff. For example, over here we'll create a loader. So we'll say column, that is going to be circular progress indicator, and this is going to be a text, and that text says loading. Okay, and we need to make sure to do a couple of things. For example, modifier, we need to make sure that the vertical arrangement is equals to, and we'll do the same for error as well, but definitely for error stuff should be different. So over here we'll say, okay, we don't need this error text. In fact, whatever error message that we have received, we'll set it that, and along with that we'll make sure to create another button, and that button means that now we'll basically show a retry mechanism to the user, because definitely without that it won't work. So that's something that we are gonna do. And over here we'll say view model dot get orders when user click on the retry mechanism. And now over here in this order list we'll call it wall list is equals to UI state dot orders list, right? And now over here inside that we'll create the rest of the things, like the rest of the stuff that we have. For example, creating a tab, and based on that tab we'll basically create rest of the things. The first thing that we need over here again is that if the list is empty, we need to make sure the list is not empty, else we'll create this. So the list is empty, fine. If not, what we are gonna do is that we're gonna create a lazy column over here, and that lazy column is supposed to create some stuff like this. Make sure to import the list variant for the items, and now we don't have this order list composable, so let's just get over here. Let me just make some space. Next, let's create composable function order list item that should contain an order Okay, and that orders me. Now this is done. Second thing is going to be on click, that is again a unit. So these are the two things that I'll require from this. And now if we go to our design, here is what we need is that basically we have a card that have almost like 16 dp spaces from every side, and after that it has like this image that is there, and along with that we have like this, it should be some sort of a raw, and this raw have an image, and then along with the image it has three texts. So one is right assign like aligned right, and the two of them are basically on the left, which include one title of the restaurant as well. The next thing is status. So we have a status. This is basically a message that is there. We are going to show status for now, and then it has two different buttons, either cancel or track order. We are not gonna implement the cancel functionality, so we'll set it up as track order for now. And to do that, let's just implement this. Okay, so over here as you saw that we have a column that we can use, and that column is supposed to be again modifier dot fill max width, that is going to be again fill max width. We also need to have some padding, that is again horizontal padding should be 16 for that. Okay, and vertical I'm gonna use 4.dp so that we don't have much of a space. Then we need to do some more things, like we need to add some shadow. Elevation should be maybe 8 dp, and then we'll make the background, that's gonna be white, and we'll also make sure to clip this as clip it, and that's gonna be round corner shape of 16.dp. I think that should be enough. Let's just see. Okay, and now inside that column we need a raw first. That raw is going to be showing us the image of what we have. So basically I'm going to say modifier dot fill max width. Okay, that's again, I think I'm gonna use 8 for this, and add a horizontal, or sorry, in fact padding from each side to be 16 dp. Okay, and now this raw needs to have an async image, which is the restaurant id. So we are going to say order dot restaurant dot image url as a model. Description is going to be null, and then the rest of the stuff is going to be modifier dot size to be 64 dp. Okay, and we also need to make sure to clip this as round corner shape. Again, that is going to be, let's keep it at least 12 for this, and that is the image. We can also scale the content, so we can say content scale as crop. This is basically an image. The next thing that we need over here is we need a column. Again, that column is going to be the first one is going to be the order id. So let's just make it the order id, but along with that we need to make sure to align that. So we are gonna say text align is equals to center. In fact, we're gonna say end, and then we'll say modifier dot fill max width, so that it basically takes the everything to the left. And now along with that, what we need is we need to define the color for this. So the color is going to be material theme dot color scheme dot primary. That's for basically setting up the primary color, and we also need to make sure that this text is body medium. So we are gonna say body medium. So that's how it should be shown. The next thing is gonna be the item count. So we are gonna say items dot size, but we are gonna make sure we show something like this to define like how much items are there. So we'll update the string as that. And the last one is going to be the restaurant name. So that's going to be restaurant dot name. And now this is going to be title medium at least, and along with that we'll change the color to be black. So yes, and this color should go as gray. So basically that's the first part of the design, where we have the async image, we have this column and all these things. The next thing that we need is that again we need a text, and that says status, and that status is gonna be, let's make sure, or I think we can do it without that. Should we? I think rather than using this as internal padding, what we can do is that we can add some padding over here, so that all the padding is being taken by all these, and now we don't need to add any padding to this. In fact, what we need to add for this is that we can change the color to gray, and the next thing is going to be a text that's basically going to be status. So we are going to change that to order dot status. Okay, that's basically this. It should be black. Lastly, we need a spacer that says modifier dot size. Let's call this 16.dp, and then now we need a button that says view details, and we also need to make sure that we set this to modifier dot fill max. So I think that's pretty much what we have. We have an order list that basically get all these things, and now we need to make sure to call this. So to call this, what we can do is that we need to go to our main activity, get over here. This is basically the order section. So just create another composable over here. We'll make sure to make it order list, and we don't need the order ID for this. We want to make it set it true. This is nav controller, and this should be something like this. Okay, now we don't have this, so let's just create one over here, make it serializable object order list, and now we can import that over here. Now let's just import the object over here. We got this, and now what we can do is that we can create one more object over here along with notification, and we call this as orders, and that is going to be bottom nav item. We'll use some sort of It's gonna be order list. Oh, let's just make sure that we extend it from the nav route, and now it will go away. Now we need this icon. We don't have an icon, so what we can do is that we can go to our Figma. So for that, let's just import that. I'm gonna go over here, go this image vector assets. Sorry, go over here, vector assets. From there, let's just select the icon, and over here, this is basically the icon that we have. Let's just import this. Now rename this. I basically forgot to rename it to orders. Okay, let's call it IC orders. So now when you set it as IC orders, okay, so now we have this. This orders is being added over here. Now we need to use it in the list that we created over here. This is the list, so we'll make sure to set it as orders, and this means now we'll be able to fetch this. We still have a lot of things to left to do, but for now I think that should be enough. And now over here I'll just run that code in the in an emulator. Okay, so we are over here. We need to log in. So now let's just get over here, call it furkan@gmail.com. Password is 123456. Try to log in, and you can see we are over here. We have this icon. Let's just click on that, and now you can see that we to some extent got the design like pretty much how we want it. Definitely this is basically getting into two lines, so it's not looking good, but other than that I think we are good. The clipping is also not shown, so we need to make sure to fix the clipping of the cards. So yeah, let's just fix these and get back to the code. Go to our order list screen, get over here. What mistake have we done? I think let's just close this over here, or maybe not. If not here, I think it should be over here. First we need to clip, then we need to add shadow to this and background. That was one thing. Second thing was this order ID. So the order ID is like quite long in text, so we need to make sure that it doesn't like take more lines. So now I'm gonna say max line should be 1, and we also need some spacer over here because there should be some space between the image and the text that we show. So yeah, I think that should be enough. Now let's just try running that again. Okay, now you can see that we have this. Let's just click on this, and it looks much better. Somehow the shadow is not working now, so we need to make sure the shadow is also working as well. And for that I think first we need to implement the shadow over here as ADP, and I think that then it should work. Let's see if it hot reloads. Let's see. Now okay, now you can see that it's basically added some shadow to this, which is looking good. So basically that was one thing. That was basically an overall lazy column that we wanted to show, to display, but now we don't want that. We actually want a pager over here. So like if there is some sort of items that are available, so in that case we want to create a tab, and that tab raw should help us with pagers as well. Okay, so let's just start working with that. We are not gonna use lazy column for now. We'll just remove that. Okay, So to implement tab, what we need to do is that we need to do a couple of things. First thing is that we need to have a list of tabs. So let's say we'll call it wall list of tabs. So we'll say list of tabs is equals to um, list of, okay, and there are basically pending, and the second one is going to be previous. I think that's the name. Okay, so it's upcoming and history. So we'll say upcoming, and the next one is going to be history. So any new orders that basically is currently in progress should come in the upcoming, and the rest should go to the history. And now over here we'll basically create a page state, and it says required. So this is basically the page count for this, and we can also set the what should be the initial page for this, and that for that I'm gonna say that let's make it this. Now we have the page state ready. The second thing that we need to do is that we need to make sure to create a scrollable tab row. For that, selected tab index is again gonna be the pager state dot current page, right? And now over here you can basically say what we want to show, what should be the title for the text. And since we have only just title over here, this is basically, it's not gonna be animating this way, so we need to make sure to provide a coroutine scope for this. So I'm gonna say coroutine scope is equals to, remember, coroutine scope. And now we'll get this, we'll say coroutine scope dot launch, and now inside that we'll set this animation, so that basically when someone clicks, it basically animates that. Okay, so this is the tab that we have. We can add some design to this. So let's say we can define a modifier for this, and then we'll say modifier dot fill max width. That's important, and that's one thing. For tab, you can also make sure to set some sort of design into this and stuff like that, but that is something that we'll do later on. We got the tab, we got the list of basically a tab created for each item, and now the next thing that we need to do is that we need to create a horizontal pager. So we'll say horizontal pager. We need to define that state that we basically created. So pager state is there, and now inside that we'll make sure that when IT, that is basically going to be the page index, and for that let's just call it, if it's 0, we'll say this is basically for pending, and then when it is 1, we'll say that it is something else. So basically that's something that we need to implement now. Now over here the 0 and 1 are just same thing. It's like nothing much. All it is that we are passing a different kind of data to this. So for that case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create another composable, and I'm going to say function orders list internal. Okay, and now it should contain a list of order and things like that, and it's containing a lazy column again, which is fine. But we also need to make sure that if the item is empty, we need to set some sort of an empty section as well. Else we'll say, else we'll draw this item. Okay, so I think that should be enough. And now over here we'll use this. We need to make sure to pass the pending orders that are there, pending orders, and in other case we'll say that this is like when it's not equals to pending. Now let's just try to run this. Now we'll go to the order section, and it just got crash. So go to the crash, see what is the reason for the crash. It's saying that, okay, so getting this error, Let me see why. We have a scrollable. Oh, okay. So here's one thing that I think I made a mistake over here is that I created the horizontal page view inside the scrollable tab row. I think that was the reason for this. Let me see if this fixes it. Let me just read on the code. Now let's get over here, and yes, now you can see that at least the cards are there, and we have these two tabs. We can also you can move this as well. One another thing is that we are getting the items for both, which we shouldn't, because the pending status is there. Let me see what mistake I have done. Okay, this was somehow misplaced. It should be not equals to. And now let's just try running this again. This time when we run this, we will basically get empty or no orders found, which is ideal. Now you can see that we have no orders found, and in this case we have this. There is still some changes or some improvements that we want to make. Like for example, for this, there is some custom design for this, rather than this using something like this. So how can we do that? We can clip that, make it round corner shape, and I'm gonna say 32.dp to this. That's one thing. And now the next thing is gonna be is that we'll set some modifier to this modifier dot weight as 1f. That's one thing. And we'll also make sure to clip that, and that clipping should also be round corner for 32 dp. That's another thing. And there are certain more things that we want to do. For example, color, and that is basically if it's selected, means if the item is selected. So we'll say if it is selected, then definitely we want to show if pager dot current page equals to index. If it's like this, in that case we'll say that the text should be white. So color dot white, else you can maybe make it gray. Okay, now this is for this it is going to be gray. And for background as well, you can see if it's basically selected, then you want to show the primary, else you want to make it transparent, or you can make it white. So I think these are something. Let's just try running this. See, now get over here. You can see that somehow it got much better in terms of how we are showing this. We got the round corners for this, and you can also see that there is one slight border on the boundary of this. So we'll see if we can add some borders to this as well. Get over here again, and this selectable tab raw over here, we'll see if we can border it, and we'll see something like this. That should not be this. In fact, we are going to show some gray color to this round corner, again 32. And we'll also want the indicator. Okay, so let's just try running this. Okay, we'll get over here. Now you can see we got to some extent we again got it. There is again the borders are not looking good. The size is quite fill max, so we need to fix that as well. The fill max width should not be there, first thing. Secondly is that since it is part of this, we need to make sure that whatever content that we show, at least it should be horizontal alignment should be center for that, so that it goes to the center. And we have removed that as well from there. We also want to add some padding, like very minor padding, that is going to be 4.dp, so that it leaves some spaces. Now let's just try again. Now let's just get over here, back, go over here. Okay, the fill max size is still there, and I'm not sure why. Could it be because of that weight? So let's just get rid of that weight as well. I don't see anything else over here. So, and we'll also set divider as well as null for this. Let's just use it like this. Try again. You can see the divider is gone, but we still have this uh, covering all that space. Okay, let's just do one more thing. Rather than using a scrollable tab row, let's use a tab row. Simple tab row. And this is basically same thing without just like the scrolling feature. And I hope this will make things easier. And yes, you can see that now it's much better in terms of how it looks. So okay, so once you set it as tab row, I think that should be enough. And let's just clean build this so that we get the clear section. And we also need to fix a couple of more things. For example, that gray color doesn't look good, so I'm gonna use light gray instead. And we also need to have some padding from the horizontal stuff, so we'll add some padding to this as well. And let's just use horizontal padding, or like let's use 16 dp for all side, because we definitely gonna add a title as well, so that will help with that as well. And yeah, I think we also need to make sure that this is a full fill max size. In case there is no order available, it will show a fill max size for this, and loader should also say that, so that the loader also goes to the center. And now let's just run the code. Okay, now let's just get over here. Now you can see it looks something like this, which is what we wanted, right? So yeah, this no order should also show something as a full. So I think over here we also made that one mistake and into that, and now you can see that it is done. The next thing would be to create a header for that. And for header, what we need is that we definitely not need enough. We just will create just one row, and that row will contain something like this. Title medium, spacer with weight as 1f. Okay, so I think you can do that. Even without that, you can just create a spacer that will be modified or size, let's say 48 dp. Over here we don't need this. In fact, what we can do is that we can create an image, and that image is gonna be painter resource. So we're gonna say painter resource r dot drawable dot back. I think that's something what it was. Yeah, that was back. And then over here we'll say modifier dot clickable. In this case we'll say view model dot back, navigate back. Okay, and we also need to have necessary content description for that, so we can just either set it as back or null. And this is basically one thing. The second one is order, third one is spacer, and yeah, I think that should be enough. Now let's see how it looks when we see. Now you can see that we have this image, we orders. Okay, just make sure the vertical arrangement is also centered vertically, and let's try to add shadow to this as well, as maybe 4 dp, and then we make it a clip, make it a round corner shape as 12.dpi. Let's make this circle shape. Okay, now you can see that it looks much better, right? We added some more functionality to the shadow, and this is how it looks. So you click on back, it will navigate back, and yeah, that's something that we should have. We also, this details buttons, the view details should be in the center. I'm not sure why it's there, but let's just look into that. Fill max width is there, but we need to align that text as well. So we'll make sure text align, that's center. I think once you do that, and this is basically what we wanted for our orders. We can change that. Over here you will see no orders found, and if there is like literally no orders, you'll see something as well. And that was basically how that was on how we can show the list items. And in the next and now what we'll do is that we'll create one more screen where we will just show the orders details, where we will show the how the order is being shown to the user. Okay, so now that is done. The next thing would be to basically implement the order details screen. We don't have much for the order details, but I think I'll try to add a couple of things. So let's create a package, call it order details, and now inside this order details we'll basically create a Kotlin class that is going to be file, and we'll name it as order details screen. Order details screen, that is going to be a file. Let's make a composable out of this. Composable function order details screen. What it requires is it contains a nav controller. It should contain an order ID as a string, and along with that it will create a view model. So we'll call it one more view model as order details view model equals to hills view model. Okay, so let's just create that view model. For that, create a Kotlin class again, call it this. Now over here we'll call it inject constructor, and we'll set it as view model. So once you do that, this means that now the order details screen view model is ready. We'll do some seal classing stuff, some creating events, for example navigating back. The next thing would be seal class order detail state, that is basically loading order details and error. And now let's just create that is one thing for loading. The next thing would be private wall underscore event is equals to mutable shared flow for order details event. Now over here we see event as shared flow. So I think that's something that we do. Second would be function get order details, and then over here it should contain an order ID string that is gonna be there. Once we get that, we'll basically based on that fetch the data. Over here we also need private wall food API as food API, which basically will help with that. Now over here we'll say view model scope dot launch, and over here the first thing would be to underscore state dot value is equals to order details state dot load. The loading is already there, so I think we don't have to do that, but let's see. The second thing would be to get order details based on the order ID, and the third one would be something like this. This is again, it should not be just order, it should be an order, something like this. Okay, so plenty of things that are there. Let's call it results dot data. I think that should be enough. Now we'll go back to our Postman, and now this was basically something that we created. Now over here let's just copy this ID, okay, and now slash and do this. So basically this means that if you want to get a data for a specific order, this is how you should get it. Now when I send that, you can see that now I'm getting a single JSON for that, which is the order. Okay, so now which means that now I'm gonna get the result.order. So yes, now let's just go to the food API class over here, and now over here what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make another create, or that is going to be orders slash order ID, and now let's call it suspend function get order details, and over here we basically pass this order ID. This order ID means this is a path variable, and this is going to be the order, and over here in return what I should expect the order object. Okay, so once you do that, now you can see that it's there. Why is this? It should not be this, it should be, I think this was wrong. We should not do it like this. In fact, I'm gonna say safe API call food API dot get order details, and over here we'll pass the order ID to this. Okay, now this order ID is there. Now the next thing would be to create, I think that's something, that's how we want that, result.data, which means that basically it's an order class, and yeah, I think that's pretty much what we have, or what we want for this. We can also create one more function that says function on navigate back, which will basically help us access this. And I think that's pretty much. Now we'll go to the order details screen. I don't have any design for that, so I'm gonna just create some random details screen for this. Let's create a column, and for column, when we create a column, I'll go to the order list order screen, and over here you can see that I have this. I'm just gonna copy this for now. So once I copy that, you can get something like this, text orders, and this is going to be order rather than, or let's call it order details. Now we have this. The next thing would be to have some sort of details section. Okay, so the next thing over here that I need to do is that let's create wall UI underscore UI state is equals to view model dot state dot collect as state with life cycle. Let me just do that as well. Now the next thing would be to check based on that state. So we'll do something like this. I'm just gonna go back to this and copy a couple of things. We can basically create a separate composable for this as well, but let's just use this for now. So basically got the error from this. This should not be order list. In fact, that should be order details view model dot order details state dot error, and in this case we are gonna say get order ID based on the order ID that we have. So that is basically what it should do. Okay, let's just remove that as well. Okay, so now we have something like this in case we successfully get that order details. So I'm gonna say the order for this, and now I'll say order along with it says an on click function. I think that's something. So over here I'll just create one more composable, and I'll call it function order detail order details text items, for example, and I'm gonna get the order from there. Now over here you can see that this specific section till this section, let's say, all these things are not required, and we can basically put them inside a simple column without any issue. Okay, and over here we'll basically get over here and call it something like this. So once you do that, it will basically be the same design, but we can now use this specific composable in our order details screen. So I'm gonna say let's use this and like this. Okay, and the next thing would be to create a status for this. So I'm gonna say raw, and now inside that raw I'm gonna say image. Okay, and based on that image I'll say painter resource r dot view model dot get item id. So basically this is again will give me the image id. So get image for this, that's gonna be null, and along with that will also show the text that will be order dot status. So I think that's something we'll do. Now let's get over here, create this function. Let's use it when order dot status will do something like this. Now we have these IC delivered, IC preparing, IC on the way, IC delivered. Let's call it IC pending. So let's call them pending. Okay, so now these are some icons. I just basically use ChatGPT to create a couple of icons for me. So I'm just gonna import those. I'm gonna say vector assets, get over here, downloads, and you can see that this is for pending. For example, this is pending. So let's use IC pending, right? Then we have a preparing, which is again vector asset, get over here, cooking. So we'll now name it as IC. So I think these are the icons that we can show, and that should be enough. Now we get over here into the main activity, get over here, create a composable. This is going to be order details. Now we'll say this, we need to get an ID. So I'm gonna say wall order ID is equals to it.routes order details order ID, and I think that should be order ID, and over here just import that order details screen. Okay, now this order details is not available in the nav route, so get over here. I'm gonna use pretty much similar order success case that we have, so I'm gonna just change it to order ID. The rest of the stuff should be same, and let's just now import that navigation order ID to this. Now this is basically imported. we'll go back to our order list screen, and now over here you can see that we have not implemented the navigate like the event on basically when user should navigate from one point to another. So over here what I'm gonna do that I'm gonna say launched effect. This is basically a side effect for this. I'm gonna set it to true, so it just runs only once. And now over here we'll basically say view model dot event dot collect latest. Now over here we'll say when, something like this. So basically when there is an order details, in that case I'm gonna say order details. Make sure to select the navigation one, and over here we'll pass the order ID to this. So this is done, and in case of navigation pop back, it will go back. Same we are gonna do this for this as well. We have also a back button for this, so make sure to implement it that. Let's see something like this, and I think that should be enough. Let's just try to run the code now, and hopefully everything will work as expected. The detail screen is basically something that we will work on more later on when we basically implement the rider app and the restaurant apps, because that is the section where we would want the user to show some sort of status of what's going on with their order. Either it's like if the rider has picked that, will show some sort of map where user can track where the rider is currently. So yeah, now let's just go to the order section. This is basically how it looks. Let me just click on an item, and I click on that, it got crashed, which is again interesting to see why something like that would happen. And it says that the feature orders detail view model cannot create an instant of order detail view model. Okay, so let's just see once, check what mistake we have done, and you can see that we have not add a tag to the health view model into this. That's why it's basically creating the problem. Now let's just try again, then hopefully this time it will work as expected. Okay, we are get over here. Let me click on the details screen. You can see it's loading, and it's just loading, it's not doing rest of the thing. Okay, let's just see why. We'll get over here into the details screen, and you can see this getting order details is only called when it's a reset, and we have not called it for the first time. So basically what you need to do is that you need to make sure launched effect, and you over here the key will be order ID. This basically launch effect, the key means that this specific code section will only be loaded when there is a change in this section, and since this order ID will remain same for this whole composable screen, so it will just run one time. So now over here we'll say view model dot get order details, and now we'll pass order ID to this. Now when you run this time it will not load. In fact, this time it will show some proper details related to that specific orders. Let's see if what we are saying is actually happening. Okay, now we get over here, go to the details, and you can see that there is definitely need to fix this design. It's not looking good. This bottom section is something where we will show plenty of things, but yeah, we need to do a couple of more things to fix this. Let me go to the order details screen, and this raw that we created, let's just make sure the size of that image is not more than 48 dp. So we'll make sure the size is something like this, and maybe we can do a couple of more things. For example, let's create another raw, and over here we have a restaurant name. Maybe we have we can create some sort of date as well. So this is something we can do. We can also make some stuff like price. So we'll say price, and over here we can create something like string util. I think that was the string util. Format currency, that will be order dot total amount, that will convert that. And yeah, I think that's something we can do. So now let's just check the details screen. Get over here, go to the details. Still not looking good. Need to make sure modifier dot padding, and that horizontal padding should be at least 16.dp, so it should leave some spaces from the sides. And now we'll see, try again. Okay, get over here, view details. So now I think it's much better. It has some price as well, it shows some sort of date as well. We don't want to show that. I think for now let's just keep it this way. We'll come to this screen and we'll fix this screen properly. We'll show some proper order details. So yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you like the video. We are very close to our first app. We are very close to closing our first app. We need to implement the notifications now, so that we basically, when there is any change in the
I hope you liked the video, and
orders,
if you did,
we
please
show
like
some
the
sort of
video, comment down
notification.
below, and share the video with
And
your
after
friends.
that
For
we
similar
are
content,
done,
you can
and then we
subscribe to
basically
my
start working
channel.
on
You can also follow me
either
on
the restaurant app
Instagram, and if
or
you have
regular
any
app.
queries,
So
you
thank you
can
so much
join
for
my
watching the
Discord
video. I hope
server
you
where
liked
we
it.
discuss different kind of
I'll see you in the
things.
next video.
So
Till
thank you
then,
so much for
happy
watching the
coding.
video.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.